Welcome to this overview of the Targeted Search Webpart, an SPFx webpart that allows you to do scoped searches in SharePoint and Teams. If we take a look at the out-of-the-box search options in Office 365, SharePoint, and Teams, they're fairly limited. At the top level, when you're in Office, you can actually go into the Office 365 search and search across all of Office 365, all documents, anything in Office 365. Very powerful, but also very wide. You can also go into SharePoint and in the SharePoint homepage, search across all of SharePoint and OneDrive for documents as well. At the next level down, if you've set up a SharePoint hub with a number of sites that are attached to it, you can do a search across all of the hub and across all of the sites, again, for documents, for list items, and so on. Finally, if you're in a particular site, in a department site or whatever it might be, you can actually do a search for any content across that site. And finally, if you want to get very specific and you know what library or list to go to, when you're opening that list or library, there is a search and you can search across that. Now, these are a lot of search options, but often they don't really meet the challenge of what many organizations need for doing specific searches in SharePoint. So a challenge is, how do you provide a limited scope document search on a site page or a team that can search across a targeted set of libraries and even folders in those document libraries? So some of the examples of where you may want to use this is if you're trying to set up kind of a central resource page off of your intranet, for instance, for employees, such that they don't have to go to every department to find the documents that they want, but that they can do a search across departments, which often they don't know which department the document might be in. That also could happen with policies. You could do it with that. You could do it with forms. There may be forms that are spread out across different libraries, PDF forms or direct deposit forms or whatever you might be having in your organization. And even just resources in general. It could be, looking for a quick reference card in IT for something like Planner. It could be looking for a logo, the official logo of the company to put on the top of a Word document or page. It could be safety guidelines or even a safety sign or other things, let's say a dress code from HR. And again, how do you find those? How do you direct employees to find those things as well? So that's one side of it. The other side, outside of the employee kind of self-service is what we call that they can go find their own stuff, is when you're dealing with the business and things like managing clients and client information across sales document libraries or accounting document libraries. Could be in services if you're providing project services or even support services. There may be documents that for a particular client you want to find and be able to search across all these to get all the documents related to Smithco, for instance. Another area where we see this is if you are looking at engineering or services or sales, particularly when you're in industries with products that are complex products or engineered products. You might want to be able to look for everything related to a product across specs, across designs, across documentation or manuals, or even regulatory documents, which may be in different libraries as well. So these are all examples of the need for specific scoped search using a library and documents. So an example of what it might look like if you were to able to provide this in a SharePoint site or even within Teams is that you might have a page And it would be nice if you could put the scoped searches right on that page. This is an example of our Doc Central, which is part of our employee self-service module, where we actually allow employees to go in and not have to visit different pages or different sites to find things, but to be able to search for things like a logo or quick reference cards or floor plans from facilities or other things that those departments may make available to the greater employee population. And instead of having to go visit every site or every page, employees can go in, and this employee resources search will search across all these document libraries. These document libraries are just here, by the way, for browsing purposes as well. You might have policies that are spread out across the organization, and you want to bring them together, or even forms, like a forms library or libraries out there. So this is an example of where you might use a scoped search. And these are the search web parts that you might want to put in place. A second challenge is it's not just limited to documents and libraries, but you may want to roll up information or search for information across SharePoint lists. An example might be if you have multiple help desks in different departments. You might, if you're an employee and you wanted to reference or see the status of a request you put in, you might want to be able to do a search and find, all service requests you've put in across the departments as well. Even tasks or other things could be business process type things. The same thing goes again with clients or accounts. Is you may have that client referenced in a CRM system, which is a SharePoint list, or accounting type things, or a project list in SharePoint as well, or a support system that might be built as well. And you would like to be able to see where that client is referenced in what items in those lists. And really, it goes on and on. You could do it with products here too, where you want to see all products that were purchased, all of them that are used in projects or support, and many other things. We see a need to actually search for events or meetings across different calendars as well, and you can do that too. So these are all needs that really provide the requirement for a scoped search. And here's an example of a list item one where you have different help desks that people can submit tickets to. And here is a scope search that shows me all of my service desk tickets via this search. And all of these might be in different sites as well. So introducing a targeted search web part for SharePoint and Teams. It's an SPFx web part that we've put together that is easy to set up and allows you to create a web part for specific targeted searches, such things as we saw, a policy search, and be able to go in and know that it's going to search all the policy libraries, and you can tell it which libraries to search. The same thing as we saw for help desk or cross help desk things like a service request search, and have it searched identified lists out in different sites as well. So that is what, in simplest terms, this web part does. Now let's see how it actually is set up and works. The way it's set up is that the site that you're going to be using the web part on will have a search configuration SharePoint list. This SharePoint list is where you can define the targeted search items, libraries or lists. So I can go in and say one that I wanted to search is the marketing library that happens to be for employees to search. It has collateral, other things like that in it. I can put in the target URL, the site that it's in. I can put the library name. And then over here, you'll notice that there's a search group. And this actually groups the different libraries. This happens to be part of this employee resources search. And we can see that it has the marketing, finance, and safety libraries in it that it's going to search. This is going to be referenced when we set up the web part. The same thing goes for lists. Here's our different help desks, and we've got those in a search group as well too. So one list, the search configuration list for this site, and it's the site that you're going to be using the Webpart in, and you set this up once, and it will then determine what the Webpart will search, the targets that it will search. So the second part of it is, once you set that up, then you want to add the web part to a page. And it could be your internet page, it could be a employee resources page, it could be a product resources page, whatever it is. You go in, just like any other web part, you see the web part, and once it's installed, it will show up. Then you have the search set up. Here, the search is on the page, but it's not set up yet. So you actually open up the Webpart frame, and it will bring up the Webpart setup. And the key thing you want to make sure is you put in the right group. Okay, in this case, the group is going to be the employee resources libraries that is put out there by the different departments. And then you can also set up, the format that you want. Do you want a card display? Do you want a table display? What do you want to show in the results display, and how many results do you want before it pages to the next result? And then what happens is that is now set up, and here we just did a search for logo, and it went right out and found the logo. I can hit open the file if I want to download that, and we can see where it came from. It came from the marketing department site as well. So in simple terms, that's all you have to do to set up the search. So let's go take a look at a live demonstration of the search working and just how it's set up. Okay, I'm in my SharePoint intranet. And if I take a look at it here, I can see it's your typical intranet with news and events and so on. And I can go and link to different things. One of the things that we have here is I've got employee services, where it's a central point for me to go in and look for document resources and those type of things. And I also have a Help Central too, which is a central point for me to go get help from different departments. That way I don't have to look for different departments and so on. So let's go take a look at Doc Central here. And this is where we actually made use of the scoped targeted search web part. And we have scoped it to be able to allow employees to look for certain things. So there's 3 groups type searches that we've done here and set up. And you can use multiple web parts in the site and even on the same page. So what we've done here is we actually have links to these libraries, so you can actually browse them. They are separate libraries for public type resources from these different departments. These departments also have their own team, but teams are for confidential for team members only. So what we needed to do was set up a set of libraries for them to be able to place different resources and information in for employees. And so I could go here and browse the different libraries. There's a separate policies library that we can also roll up policies in, and there's also a forms library not showing here. What we've done, though, is we've set it up so that an employee does not have to go and look through the different libraries. It could be they don't know where the item that they want is actually kept, what library. And we set up these different libraries so that you can have different permission levels on the libraries and make sure that the HR people can change their things, but the IT people cannot. And there's reasons why you'd want to do that from a document structure. But let's go see how these web part works. So I'm going to go in here, and I am working on a proposal and a Word document, and I want to get the official logo. And it happens to be marketing has a place for the official logo, but I don't know that. So I'm just going to go in and put in logo. I hit enter, and the search starts working, and here it is, the Radiant Solar logo. I can open the file, I can download it, I can do whatever I want here as well. So that's an example of using the search out here as well. And if I wanted to find a specific policy, maybe one related to drug testing or something like that, I can go in and do a search here. We can find it's in the California handbook here, but also it's called out in a specific document here too, which I can take a look at that. And this is the detail of what is actually in the handbook there. And the same thing goes for forms. If I want to find the direct deposit form so I can change my bank account, I can go in and do that here as well. So you can see how easy it is for somebody to actually use this. Now let's take a minute and actually go in and see how easy it is for you to set this up. If I go up to the admin here, I can see, and by the way, I have to be an admin to do this, I can see there's a search configuration list. And this is the list that I actually place the document libraries into to actually have them searched. So you can see here I put in a library that is in the HR site, actually, and it's HR portal docs. So all I have to do is put the target URL and the target document library name in here. I can also say how many items do I want to show up on the search before it is ready for another page or whatever. And then I could put it into a search group. Okay, and so for HR and facilities and a couple others down here, we can see these in the different sites, and it's pulling from different sites. These are all part of what we call employee resources search group, which is number 3. And the search actually can use multiple types of search types. This happens to use MS Graph in here as well, but we can also use SharePoint API searches and other things too. Okay, so that I've entered that in. Now if we go back to the page and I edit the page, we'll see that I can now go in and manage each of the search web parts. So this web part is of course the employee resources search. In the site there actually is another set of files in there, and it's search group 4. I could also change this back to search group 3, and it'll search those files. I then need to tell it what type of display I want to use. If I don't use card display, it will actually have a table type list underneath it here, kind of like a list view. I can say what card size I want. What card width. I can actually display the cards instead of up and down horizontally. And I can also pick, because this is a library, what fields I want to show on the table there as well. So I'm basically setting up how the results will be displayed. But the big thing here is to understand you can change the search group and have it search different things. Okay, as an example here, let's take a look at another one. This is the policies search. So if I go here and look at this, I can see it has a different group. It's actually search group number 1, and it's searching across a couple of different policy libraries. And if I were to take a look at the form search, I'd see it has a different group. And again, I can even set up for this Webpart example in here a different way that it presents the results too. Okay, let's go take a look at a different example, one where we're actually using lists to as part of the search. So we're back at our intranet site, and we've set up another page here on the intranet site called Help Central. And what we've done is there are a number of different departments that have their own help desk. That have been put in. Simple help desks, they're actually in Microsoft Lists and SharePoint that they're done in. And I can go here and I can open up a form and submit requests. There's actually a knowledge base as well, and I can talk to Brandon here for any questions or that type of thing that I have. This is all part of our self-service solution and self-service intranet. But the thing to look at here is obviously, I'm submitting to different departments, but it sure would be nice if I could search across my tickets and find out the status of, say, a ticket. And I've had quite a bit of problems with my laptop lately, and so this search is actually set up to just search my those items that are created by me, and I'll just go in and say, look for laptop. Now in this case, again, we've got the search group here, but you can see that now this is an example of the table display here. And I've got just some basic fields here, but if I want to actually look at this item or go right to it, I can do that just by clicking here, and it will open up the item. Okay, and I can now see the item here, and I can see the status of what's going on as well. So back to Help Central. Again, I could put in other things like a marketing event request and show me any service requests that relate to events, or it could be related to there was a kitchen, needed to clean up a kitchen. I could type in kitchen, and it would bring up the facilities request that was there. So you can see that this allows you to go way beyond the search across all sites and these wide searches to have very specific applications that makes it very easy for you to put in a resources page, a services page, a product information page, and target a search towards that. Again, targeted search from SP Marketplace.